Bag. I want the bag. Work my way from a garden to a track. Flip it from a track to a plot full of acres. Do it for the farmers and producers and the makers. What we even here for? Occasionally I ask it. I know it's more than struggling, anticipating the casket. Reap what we sow. I'm trying to fill up my basket. Life's a plantation, I self-law and master. Over the plot, I've been granted on this planet. Now it's slanted, cause the chosen been supplanted. But if you overstand it, it was spoken. Fractured, but we ain't broken. Even though some would rather play the role of token, we growing. Black through the essence of a presence. We carry the blood of gods, we carry the mind of peasants. Rich black gardens, future look more like Eden. Multiply seeds like the seed banks in Sweden. Rep my planners on plan according to season. B1 code. Switching it up is treason. Black power, family what we eat. Either we get fed or we feed. B1AG.
What's going on? What's growing on? What is growing on? Welcome to B1AG Daily Bread Podcast. I'm John Henry Harris. We also have Farmer Brown, the MC. Here at B1AG, we focus on Black agriculture as it pertains to agriculture production, education, marketing, health, food, nutrition, and economics, all for the Black family and for the Black community. Welcome Black to the garden. Now, we are all too familiar with slavery and all the implications that came with it and its effect on our development as a people in this country. You know, and we think it's when we say slavery, you know, basically the labor, the economic portion of slavery was the free to cheap labor. It provided these huge farming operations that was the foundation of the whole money-making scheme behind agriculture in this country. You know, this cheap free labor through slavery is what ignited the riches of these Black farmers and agriculture industry in this country. And, you know, these images, you know, are very familiar to us. You know, the slaves working in the cotton fields, you know, working for free. Now, we have, with that being the foundation, cheap free labor, which uplifted the agriculture production business in this country. Now, there's not slavery anymore per se, but do you think that they're going to give up that easy equation to make money? Of course not. So today we're going to look at the phenomenon of the new slaves, and the new slaves being cheap immigrant workers. New slaves, big farms still exploiting labor because it's still going on. It's still happening. It's just not us. And we're going to deep dive into this topic and show you how big commercial farming and just that whole way of doing business has got to go. And there's a number of reasons behind that outside of just the exploitive nature of the business. Farmer Brown, let's talk about it, bro.
First, I'd just like to say peace to the B1 family. Hope everybody's doing well. Staying alert, staying vigilant, you know, with the survival and thrivalism mindset going into this new cycle. Dr. Amos Wilson, he said, you cannot consume yourself into equality. You must produce yourself into equality. You move into equality and beyond by productive thinking. Here at B1AG, a big part of our conversation is how do we make sure that we instill this growth mindset into the melanated community. You know, once again, if you come up with an idea that works, what's going to stop me from implementing this idea if it benefits me outside of you coming up with a better idea and a more powerful approach towards countering it? When we have this conversation and go over some of what the immigrants from different parts of the world are going through when it comes to our food security, I hope the melanated family is internalizing this information and not only looking at it from a disparaging standpoint, but understanding how do we apply this to our current situation and how do we not only feed ourselves, but empower ourselves within this exploitative sector. So I look forward to deep diving into this conversation.
Now, this article is from The Guardian, and it's entitled "A Lot of Abuse for Little Pay: How U.S. Farming Profits from Exploitation and Brutality." Now, this article actually dives into, they actually interviewed a trafficker who decided, a farm worker from Mexico who requested to remain anonymous, who was transported through a trafficking network from Monterrey, Mexico, to work on farms in Georgia. Now, according to this worker, they paid traffickers 20,000 pesos, which is about $950, loaned from their mother, taking frequent trips back and forth to Monterrey before being told it was safe to leave. Then they were finally transported across the border. Initially, the worker was told that they'd be working on a blueberry farm, but they were sent to a corn farming operation instead. Now, this is what the farm worker said. "We arrived at the house where we would live and had to clean the rooms ourselves. There were roaches, spiders, mosquitoes, and the mattresses were covered in lice," the worker said. "The bathrooms and showers were dirty and clogged. The kitchen was horrible. We had no air conditioning and hot weather." Now, the workers' their daily work schedule began at 3 or 4 a.m. and they worked until 3 or 4 p.m. with one 15-minute lunch break, making $225 for 15 days of work. They heard rumors that several workers had died. The worker claimed that Haitian immigrants were also brought into the same network. After 20 days at the corn farm, the worker was sent to a cucumber warehouse where they weren't paid anything for their work, and then they transferred to Texas before escaping the operation and returning to Mexico. There was a lot of abuse for little pay, and it was a total fraud. This is what workers are going. This is what migrant immigrant workers are dealing with. You know, the
when you
contract.
look at it, the work that they did, the traffickers, the farmer, the planter, as they were called historically, still made their profit. I didn't come through on my end of this transaction. You know, you thought you were coming to work with blueberries. I had you working with corn for 225 over 15 days, and then going to a cucumber operation. They still made their money. When we go to the grocery stores, when we think about it, and this is one of our reasons of really taking an intentional effort of reaching Black farmers, melanated farmers, looking into CSA shares, buying directly from the farmer. When we buy those cucumbers, when we buy those different items at a grocery store, we got to look into what went into how these things were produced. You know, we've had these conversations about tennis shoes and other products we get from Asia and the sweatshops, these factories and warehouses where they have nets around these buildings for the workers who are trying to jump out of the building. We got to look into this, family. It was also Dr. Amos Wilson that said, I don't have the quote directly in front of me, but if you benefit from stolen goods or stolen labor, then you must also endure the curse of it. So as a melanated family, once again, what are we doing to become producers? Within this dynamic where we see a lot of unfairness happen, we know our ancestors were directly impacted by this exploitative relationship when it comes to food systems. Here at B1AG, we like to keep our conversation around food. So understanding that this commercial, large-scale agriculture that we've come to grow up in North America is in the process of crumbling. How are we going to take this as an opportunity to reassert ourselves in a non-exploitative capacity within this? Oh, wow. It makes all the sense in the world. And as we get into this conversation, and so a lot of farmers, right, the planters, the plantation owners are starting to complain. Hey, we can't make our farm operations. We can't plan our farm operations because we don't have labor. You think about some of the because of the pandemic that's going on. There's a lot of other dynamics that are disrupting this system. You could say it's the ancestors looking down. You could say it's the Most High exacting justice, or you could say this is the canary in the cave that, okay, y'all, it's time to start taking action. You see here's a problem. What did Pac say? Find a weakness in the game and sold it. This exploitative operation, this exploitative model is no longer sustainable. We know as entrepreneurial-minded melanated people that, hey, food flips harder than crack. Everybody has to eat. So what are we doing starting in 2021? Now we've gone into 2022 to make sure we've established our respective profitable role within this niche of agriculture.
And although this exploitative nature in agriculture, big farming, commercialized farm operations, this is what it's built on. There has been pushback. There's a story in the LA Times that expresses this as well. I'm gonna pull up this article from the LA Times. U.S. blocking tomato shipments from Mexican farms accused of abusing workers. There's a lot of hypocrisy in this now. Now, an export powerhouse that provides much of Americans' vegetables, which is the Mexican produce industry, they've been showing that they've been abusing their farm workers. In a move by the Biden administration, they accused two large Mexican agribusinesses of forced labor abuses and scrutinized them by blocking their shipments of tomatoes from that Mexican state of San Luis Potosi under a withhold release order handed down in late October by the U.S. Customs and Border Protection. So in essence, they've sanctioned these tomato growers in Mexico for abusing their workers and say that we will not accept your tomato shipments because of the way you treat your workers. But the same thing goes on here with our farmers.
I think context is everything. These are the same people that said in 2020, oh, these healthcare workers are the heroes, fighting through this pandemic, helping the sick people who are coming into the hospitals. And then in 2021, now I'm going to fire you if you don't make a decision that you might not want to make, a medical decision. And so, once again, context is everything. So the same mindset that would say, this is your pizza sauce, this is your fresh tomatoes. This is a lot of products derived from tomatoes that are coming from Mexico. And so you see how a lot of times these discussions can be blurred. And then, in this current this cancel culture that we have now, you got to be very conscientious of how you frame your discussions. And so one end, absolutely, yeah, U.S., government, no, we don't want these people being exploited for their labor. But then on the flip side, okay, those of us who aren't producing our food, we're consumers of this product that the labor is being exploited to produce. Now, is the U.S. saying, no, we don't want your tomatoes for altruistic reasons because we can appreciate the plight of your workers? But this is the same U.S. government that now I want to bring all of these people from all of these other places to wipe out the voter blocks that might not vote for this particular political party. And so once again, this is a multi-dimensional chess game. Here at B1AG, like my grandfather says, how do we keep this simple stupid? How do we navigate through all of this hypocrisy and confusion? And like I said, the simple thing that comes to me is we have to reassert ourselves within this food production process. Once again, here we're not here to throw shade, but in 2019, we're looking at economics. White families in North America have the highest level of median family wealth. That's $188,200. In that same year, Black families' median wealth is less than 15% of white families at $24,100. Hispanic families' median wealth is $36,100. What are you saying, Brown? You shooting these numbers? Context is everything. And so what I can tell you going on in Central Kentucky right now, I remember when I was growing up, there was not one Hispanic family. This is back in the early 90s, not one. And I noticed progressively over the following decades, now the neighborhoods that used to be all black or majority black are now majority Hispanic. I remember when the Hispanics first started coming in, it'd be like 10 of them in one house. It'd be like 6 of them riding in a beat up truck. I noticed it took about 15 years that they're pulling up at first it was the farm trucks. They'd be coming in from these farm trucks, and I imagine it was these exploitative farm operations. We have a lot of horse farms here in Central Kentucky. But fast forward to 2020, 2021, these same Hispanics who endured this exploitative process are now in position to not only buy their own land, as these farm owners, these planters, these plantation owners are dying off. Their operations are now being disrupted. The Hispanics have positioned themselves as being producers. Because they was producers, they're now able to not only go in practicing cooperative economics, we talk about socioeconomics, to buy this land, but they're also in position to produce this land. These are now the people that are buying houses, and you don't have 10 people staying in them. You have one family. But when we talk about this concept of codification, when we talk about this concept of the code being the leader, it's this idea that as producers, melanated people become more competitive. It's not, me, my fight isn't who I want to be equal with y'all. I tend to believe, just like in sports and any other area of activity, we can excel in any area of activity where we decide is a priority. When we see all of these moving dynamics and moving pieces with our food security, like I said, this is the canary in the cave family who have every opportunity. That's one of the reasons we promote healthyblackfood.com, understanding this food production process from the seed level. If you understand it from the seed level, then you understand all of the components that go within it. Another interesting piece as we were planning for this podcast today, when we talk about gardening and farming, we don't want people to take it as, okay, I can just put a seed out here and go about my normal day, normal lifestyle, and suddenly I'll be successful. There is work. Some of those images you were showing with the immigrants out in the field, growing food is an intensive process. It does require sweat. It does require time. It does require lifting. What do they say? No pain, no gain. But what you see right here, this is a large scale operation. You imagine you have hundreds of acres, thousands of acres of a monocrop, one crop like, say, your tomatoes or cucumbers. This does require a lot of people, a lot of labor. If you're the owner of this operation and, we're not caping for the owners, you're not going to make much money if you're paying these people fair wages. And so when we have this conversation, and we touch on this at healthyblackfood.com, we do live courses and discussions as well. When you localize this system, when you make smaller operations, instead of having hundreds of acres, okay, break it down to 5. You're doing intensive, diverse crops in 5 acres, 1 acres. Now you can actually pay a fair wage. Your profit isn't based on, okay, I have to exploit dozens and dozens of people to make my crop profitable. No, we make it profitable by being innovative. This is why I say that once the melanated mind has a broader concept, and it's not that we have to learn something new, it's relearning and re-embracing something that our ancestors already did. Our ancestors didn't have equipment. Our ancestors didn't have technology. Our ancestors didn't have access to social media. Our ancestors didn't have this thing called culture, that we pretty much drive culture around the world. And so once again, all of these are tangible assets when it comes to creating these localized food systems. How do we apply that? And it starts with the seed. It starts with understanding how to produce. Because once we learn how to produce, now we understand how do we distribute it to where it's going. Then we have another news story about where this whole distribution process is going in relation to when we think about a lot of our food comes from overseas, whether it's getting imported, the actual food, or where the labor is being imported. All of these things are being disrupted as we speak. And if you could pull up this video real quick from this trucker. And it's ties to this whole conversation, family. I hope you're not thinking we're jumping around. This is a very complex issue, but I hope the family understands the huge opportunity there is upon our ability to seize upon finding a niche within this dynamic.
Bacon here. And I want to give you.
And this video is in relation to the mandates, the medical decisions. You have it on mute. While you're waiting, like, share, subscribe. We got to keep this conversation going. We want this conversation to grow.
That I lost his name in Twitter, but I appreciate that he put this up there. I posted it to Telegram. You can see it's got 114,000 odd views. So this really resonated with people that the new border restrictions imply that truckers won't be allowed to take goods across the Canadian-U.S. border unless they get their vaccines.
You all know I drive truck, and I cross the border from Canada to the U.S., U.S. to Canada. Everything you have, everything you eat, everything you touch, everything you wear, everything in your house, everything you go to the store for, and odds are almost everything you have at work, all showed up on the back of what I drive. Come January, they're throwing a new loop in there. Everybody crossing the border in a truck, they want to have the vaccine, and a lot of us don't. A lot of us are not getting it. They're going to be parking a lot of trucks come next month. You may not think that's going to affect you. 15% of the trucks on the road shut down, can't get across the border, can't haul the product. It's going to affect you more than you realize. 15% is all it's going to take. Distribution centers aren't going to get their stuff out. Lumber's not going to show up. Again, everything.
So just whittling away at the supply chain, restricting consumer access to food, just telling farmers that you can't even drop your food off here. When I posted this, also there are many comments that said, I'm a trucker too, and yeah, this is getting too crazy. I'm turning in my, I'm done.
When white America catches a cold, black America catches pneumonia. Here, B1AG, somebody had left us a comment. Man, we like what you're talking about. Why do you got to racialize it? Why, you're feeding into the government objective of making it racial. It affects us. It affects us until we can codify as a melanated community, outside of our ideologies, but just our basic human need of food. We'll find ourselves subject to these disruptions. One of the things with these truckers, and so what he was explaining was, okay, the farmers that are producing grains or whatever, pork or whatever we're exporting, they're no longer able or are running into these disruptions exporting it across the border. So we know melanated farmers, the 49% of the melanated farmers who are able to make profit are in the livestock production, which happens to be one of the more exported goods that we produce. And so if you run into a situation where white farmers are running into these problems, their priority isn't going to be like, okay, now as we're facing problems, let us make sure that the melanated farmers, the few melanated farmers who've been strong enough to keep their operations going, now let us make sure they have equity within our exporting operation. Family, I don't think we can depend on that. So once again, as we have this conversation, what are things that we can do? What is the power that we have within our hands here, working with what we have to work with? This is supporting your local melanated farmers that already exist. We're coming into winter 2022, and so we want to talk about CSA shares, community supported agriculture. This is where you get a subscription. The idea with that is, hey, I'm going to pay this farmer something up front. Some farmers will let you pay them half up front. Some will want the whole subscription up front. Either way, I'm going to pay you up front so you can produce. You can plan your operation to make sure you're delivering these produce boxes to my door. When we talk about cooperative economics, going in as group, you can get group shares. And so maybe I can't necessarily grow in my apartment complex or where I live, but it's enough of us that want to eat healthy and support, melanated businesses that will go in and get these subscriptions. That's another area. We also understand to be competitive because we see the The sector as it is crumbling before our eyes. Babylon is falling. And so as Babylon's falling, okay, this space is still going to exist. Now, are we just going to sit and let the bricks fall on us? Or are we going to, go over to the side, do some very strategic planning and making sure we're planting seeds in the minds of the inheritors of this Babylon real estate? We know a lot of people are going by real estate in the metaverse, but here at B1AG, hey, we're still here in Eden. We're still here on Turtle Island, where this is beautiful farmland, family. So once again, by stoking this growth mindset, by stoking this mindset of productivity, it's one thing producing ideas, but it's a whole nother thing when you can produce something that people can eat, when you can produce it in mass and eat it, have enough for yourself and have surplus to sell to others. This is the whole purpose around this B1AG conversation. Am I saying that this is the end all be all and, you go to healthy black food, all problems are solved? Not at all. But is this a very practical, codified approach towards, this structure of Babylon fallen in relation to our food system? Absolutely. I don't think anybody can tell me that not learning how to plant food on your own is a bad idea. And I would encourage that argument. I don't like to argue, but I would love to have that discussion if somebody thinks that's somehow a bad idea.
And at the end of the day, these huge, big commercial farms, that business model is dying, is dead. It's dead. They don't have the workers it's hard for them to even get the workers to do it, because for them to make money, they are so, this whole industry, the big farming, commercialized farming industry was built on slavery. It's built on slavery. So those profits are their slave profits have been embedded in the industry so long that they don't know how to operate without that mindset. You know what I'm saying? It's like, as wrong as it is, they don't know how to operate without that mindset. Because that's what they're used to making. They're used to making it with exploited labor. So small scale, localized food production, that's food security, but there's also financial security for those people in those areas where the food production is small scale and localized. That instead of having all the money coming into the plantation, now you have individual smaller plots where the people can produce the food as well as make a fair wage and make money.
When you talk about your grandfather or your family, so obviously, my family's from the South as well. We talk about our ancestors and how they were part of this. They were the ones that built this original model of producing food. You didn't have to go get immigrant labor because, our grandparents had like 10, 7, 8, 10 kids.
I was the labor.
You had Big Head John, right? So I don't have to get H2A workers to help me produce this food that's going to feed my family. I can feed my community and make a profit. We're thinking about, okay, we see education is changing before our eyes. What better way? And like I said, it's isn't the end all be all, but what better way? I have this technologically minded son or daughter. I have this influential daughter that knows how to navigate crypto and all of these new dynamics. But what better way to get them started, to give them a niche going into the future than them understanding the food system? Because whether you're sitting at home in the metaverse or want to operate in the real world, you're still going to have to eat. And so if you understand intrinsically, if your first eye understands, okay, people are going to have to eat, and all natural food that's going to keep you alive is going to come from a seed when we're talking about produce and obviously animal production. Not to digress, honey is one of the most profitable agricultural products right now on the market. When we think about, the health benefits of it, the culinary benefits of it. So when we're thinking about, okay, hey man, I don't have 100 acres. I just got 1 acre here, 5 acres here. My family got a couple of acres. It's really thinking about ways to monetize and make what you have available to you profitable. So like I said, some people rent plots to groups looking to do community gardens. And so say if you have some family land, I might live up in Michigan or New York, but I got some family down in Florida or Georgia that still has some land. And so, okay, we're going to do some connections here. I'm going to use some of the leverage I have up here in the big city, access to all of these people. And, this will be a consumer base for the product that we're creating on this family land. Start blogging about your farming adventures and experiences. When we think about unique ways of education, these kids, and I'm not just going to say kids, there's adults too. Like I said, we have access to thousands, hundreds of people just through our devices. So we see how ratchetness, it goes viral. And so what if we can make, seeing melanated people being productive go viral? Not only does this help the culture, but this also helps to promote products. You don't have to go through a CBS or NBC or these mainstream networks to sell a product. Pepsi, they pay millions of dollars every year at a Super Bowl for somebody to know that they have sugar water for sale. But we can utilize that same concept of marketing through our devices, through these kids that are already going to be in these devices. You can sell seeds and plants online. So our ancestors didn't have access to a device where, okay, I got all of these excess seeds from whatever it is I was growing this year. I can sell them online. I can ship them from my home. Since we have this nefarious little agenda wanting to keep everybody in place, it's like it's Birdman being flying any weather. Whatever is thrown at us is having a codified, productive, not reactive, but productive to response to whatever's coming at us. And we understand historically food is being used as a weapon of war. So it's one thing I got some money and access to go to a grocery store, or, I got enough money, I can buy food, I'm cool. But it's a whole nother level of power when you can produce that food. It's a whole nother level of power and preparedness. We had the brother Leroy Shabazz on the other day. When you have networks that, if the devices go down, if the electricity go down, we already got a plan, family. We've already had these discussions. We had these discussions in 2021 going into 2022, preparing for what these people got planned for 2030. And because we planted this seed early, we know some seeds lie dormant. They take a little time to cultivate. The environment around them has to be conducive for them to germinate. And this works the same way metaphysically and literally when it comes to planting these seeds early. Like I said, this is why we promote healthyblackfood.com. It is planting that seeds, understanding the basics of how food is grown. The writing is on the wall. Like I said, we're not here to throw shade to the immigrants, the Hispanics, like they said, Haitians. If you think a couple of months ago, there was this big debacle about the Haitians at the border, and there being this discrimination about which immigrants are being let into the country. We saw the people from Afghanistan, Pakistan, the Middle East are being brought in, but then other groups are left out. So once again, what does the elder Nellie Fuller say? You want to avoid confusion. These people understand how to stoke this confusion to keep this exploitative model going. So once again, since 2020 was the year of awakening, we're woke, 2020 vision. So now we see the nefariousness. So, okay, how much time do we spend talking about it versus really planting some seeds and taking some actionable items, learning how to produce our food, distribute it, market it? You can't go wrong.
It's needed, necessary, and it's a way that we can be secure. This is the same way some people would turn to, ammunition and guns for security. Being able to produce your own food, that is the best security that you can have in this world. Because it's all about survival. And we all have to eat to survive. So being able to produce your own food to survive, feed yourself, feed your family, to make sure that we can get through another day, that's what you call security. And again, small localized food production, that equals food security. And when we can link small localized food production to work together cooperatively, now you're dealing with real power, not from this power for your family, but now you have power to where you could really get things moving on a regional scale, if not across your state, region, and even across the nation. At the end of the day, we want to make sure that the entire family can eat. We want not just, we want to start with our household and move out to our extended family. We want to make sure that everyone else can eat as well, because we all have to eat.
It takes one sharp pinpoint to pop a huge balloon. The power of one. That's the power of every individual, within our voices. Each of us have power within our homes, within our communities, to affect this dynamic. That starts with the people around you seeing that you've now taken this serious enough to start, to try. I had, one of my wins from 2021, I talked to my sister about an hour yesterday, and she had sent me a text of a picture. She had a couple of bags of cotton mix. And she even knew what to get. She knew not to get garden soil. She knew to get potting mix. So what that represented to me was it was an effective communication. She also said to me, my nephew Julian, he's my middle nephew, and he was like, not nanny. That's what he calls her, not nanny. Not nanny. I want to make some money. I want to grow some food. And she's like, how are you gonna do that? I'm gonna put some seeds on the soil and I'm gonna grow some plants and I want to make some money. And it's cute. He's 7 years. It's cute. But it's literally planting that seed to where he's put two and two together that, okay, hey, people eat, and for them to eat, something has to be grown, something has to be produced. And so as an uncle, as a brother, this is my opportunity. Like, okay, this is something I can do. Regardless of what these nefariousness folks got going on, this is something I can do within my family to enrich my family, not only myself, not only my children, but my broader family, my nieces, my nephews. By simply, what's the word I want to use? What did they say? Practice makes perfect. So right now we're in January, what we call January 2022 of this Gregorian calendar. We know it's typically cooler in most places in what we call North America, but this is the time to do the planning of what you're going to put in the ground after the last frost. This gives you time to figure out now, okay, how much space do I have outdoors for what it is I want to grow? Am I stocking up on different containers? Am I storing the seeds? Maybe I'm not going to put anything in the ground or any pots right now, but I'm at least store seeds, since I see that these other folks are running into problems. And so, they're getting on Amazon and going to the different seed exchanges, making sure they're getting seeds. And so my thing to the melanated family, are we taking the same action? Because that's the power we have. Nobody can stop us from being prepared. Nothing is going to stop an ant from constantly being in the process of preparing. We're in our finest hour, family. I think every day, me and Hen talk every day. Like, I don't think when we first started having these conversations back in 2015, 2014, it's like every year adds more and more reason that this is one of the main tools, one of the main weapons of this silent war. What do they call it? Silent weapons, the silent wars. It's that axe, it's that shovel, it's that hoe, it's that rake. These are weapons of silent war.
Just growing some food to make sure that you can eat. Full stomach. You can win wars with full stomachs. You can stop wars with full stomachs. So here at B1AG, we're going to continue to push the Black algorithm. With your help, like, share, and subscribe. Let's grow this conversation. This big farm, the big farm model is crumbling. It's crumbling. And they're saying they don't have the workers to do it. Basically they don't have the slaves. Because the slaves are now they're able to run their own operations now. The quote unquote slaves, that exploited labor class that they've been used to exploiting, that labor class, they're not there anymore. They're trying to bring them in and ship them in. They're not treating them right. They're escaping and creating their own jobs.
Bruh, the point I was trying to make, I hope I wasn't too abstract with it, with the Hispanics here in Kentucky, Central Kentucky. They literally have grocery stores now.
Whole shipping, like
strip
malls.
Shipping operations. And these were the same people that, like I said, 10, 15 years ago, were 15 deep in a house. They had a long-term strategy. Hey, these people want to pay us cheap. These people want to exploit us. But all right, farmer, you ain't got nobody to pass your farm down to. Maybe they had some sort of intuition that one day this system will collapse, which is inevitable. You can't build anything on an unsustainable system. But what they've done now is poise themselves to, okay, we'll take this cheap money, but because we're pulling our resources together, as this farm operation, depletes, whoever owns it, the original planter is going to want to sell this. We're now in position to buy this operation. Not only to buy it, straight up, we're also in position because we've been doing work all these years to actually make this productive. All these farm trucks we were riding around as your employee, hey, you're trying to liquidate your assets. And so guess who's first in line to procure these assets? Guess who already knows how to work all of this infrastructure within these operations? And so my thing is with the melanated family, we've been an exploited class. What does Nellie Fuller say? We're victims of war. But as victims, we've learned to be sustainable by our nature of being here. We embody sustainability. And so if we can apply that same sustainability that we've had to deal with just surviving towards producing a product that we know there will be an endless consumer base. I just saw an article yesterday. They were saying it was 75 million more people on the planet. I think it's 75 more million people. And this is why they're going through this depopulation, because all these brown people, as much raid as we spray, they keep, what did they say? We don't die, we multiply. We know there's going to be an endless base of people that have to eat. Going into the future, 2030, 2040, 2050, are we preparing the minds of today to take on the challenges, to compete with your Elon Musk, your Bill Gates, whoever these people deem as smart and educated? Are we creating a culture within our melanated family to compete globally? And it starts with the seed locally. We can't continue to ship our food thousands of miles across the ocean. That's unsustainable. It lends for a lot of opportunities for somebody to exploit that, a lot of opportunities for somebody to put you in the place of a victim waiting. But if you've mastered this concept of localizing your food production, localizing your food security, and not being a consumer, being a producer within this, being an insurer, operating in a legal capacity. You understand when it comes to quality and all of this, we need lawyers within agriculture, becoming ecologists and scientists. We need people that understand the environment. These planters, they done destroyed the environment trying to produce everything fast. What did they say? Grow big or go home. A lot of land has been destroyed. So we need agricultural melanated minds focusing on these problems. When we think about the logistical different, they're trying to get driverless trucks now. That's not sustainable, because what if the grid goes down? Then these electric trucks no longer work. And so what we're doing, we're mixing with the old school with the new school. I'm an old head with a new tool. Urban farmer, I'm a new groove. It's mixing it. It's taking all of these, it's taking all of our lived experiences, not only ourselves, but genetics through our ancestors, and applying it to not only today, but tomorrow. And we have this power in our hands. There's nobody that can tell us we can't do it. They're banking on that we're not going to do it. They're banking on we're just going to be so enamored in all these little threat mechanisms and fear tactics that's being thrown at us. They're banking on that these melanated people ain't going to wake up and realize the power they have in producing. And I'm a person, I like to prove people wrong, and it's not like they're the great, it's not like trying to prove to other people, hey, we're worthy. That's not it at all. It's the LeBron of me that's like, man, 3-peat, 4-peat, 6-peat. Once you show me what this game embodies, we'll master it. So this is why we have this B1AG conversation, family. It's getting black to the garden, black to the essence of the original power, that caloric energy.
And this is what it looks like, y'all.
Pushing the black algorithm. Ancestors, they mastered the systems. We raising your bosses, no victims. Planting that knowledge curriculum. Blessing the roots with the nutrients. The darker the berry, like Nubian. Dropping receipts like I'm Julian. The streets with that food like Peruvian. Trapping the herbs and the fruits and the veggies. CSA boxes, my package is heavy. Ship across down in the bed of my Chevy. Printing them up, growing hard like that baby. If you stay ready, you ain't gotta scramble. Bet on black farmers and growers, no gamble. Reclaiming our pain cause the game is in shambles. Blessed with that melanin, carry the mantle. Mothers and fathers of civilization. Black to the garden with food cultivation. Building back better through black innovation. action. B1 community growing the nation. Genetically designed to be the dopest, open that growth mindset. Codified, now we focus farming on track on track. Be the fam, break bread with them. Pushing that B1AG algorithm. Now, watch me get them, watch me get them. Pushing that B1AG algorithm. Be the fam, break bread with them. Pushing that B1AG algorithm. Watch me get them, watch me get them. Pushing that B1AG algorithm.
And if y'all notice in that video, there weren't any people being exploited. There wasn't people being forced to do anything. They were working with their hands, working together in love and in harmony and creating, building and creating life. No exploitation needed. No exploitation needed. Y'all make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to the B1AG Daily Bread podcast. That's on YouTube. You can also check us out on the Black Boss channel. Check us out on the blackbosschannel.com. If you want to just get in contact with us, say hey, give us some information, you can reach out to us at B1AG@gmail.com. B1AGHipHop@gmail.com. Hey y'all, we need to get to it. We need to get our subscription level up. Because once we get to 1,000 subscribers, we're able to do more things for you. We're able to bring more people to the table. We're able to feed more people when we get more subscriptions. You know, that's a free thing. That's free. Just to press like, share, and subscribe. We really need some subscribers so we can work our way through this algorithm a lot better. You know, we can do that bit more when we just get to that level of 1,000 subscribers. So we would really appreciate if y'all can help us get there. That way we can do more, we can present more, and trying to get from up under the thumb of this algorithm a little bit. You know, it's a dance. It's a dance. You know, so not a twerk, but it is a dance. So we really appreciate if y'all can help us reach that milestone of just getting to 1,000 subscribers. That way we can just have more flexibility in how we can present y'all information. So at the end of the day, Farmer Brown, we talked about, this exploitive model, big farm, cheap labor, that's crashing. And the way that it's crashing, the big farm cheap labor is crashing because small scale, localized food production is seen as the remedy, even by the USDA, because of all the supply chain issues, the pandemic, decreasing labor shortage. It's forcing the hand of these big farm, these big farmers, these big farm commercial farms. They have to break down and localized food production is a must just for us to keep our food on our shelves. You see the truckers, they're trying to force the truckers to get medically treated, and they ain't with it. There's a lot of them they're not with it. So that's gonna really affect how much food is gonna be available on our shelves even more. So let's stay ahead of the curve, y'all. Let's get to growing. Let's grow our own food. Let's make sure that we have some food for ourselves, made by us for us. Because nobody's going to worry about feeding us like us.
No longer will they build houses and others live in them, or plant and others eat. For as the days of a tree, so will be the days of my people. My chosen ones will long enjoy the work of their hands. The sister from Texas was talking about the farmer. He was the largest organic farmer. He just dipped. He got caught up in his shenanigans and he dipped. And what that space that he left represent a house that somebody's going to occupy. Family, we are in our finest hour. The brother said, praying is equal to praying. Predators. We're fedators. We want to feed people. This is how we take an offense. We don't want to stay in perpetual defense. We remain as on offense by getting in a productive mindset. We have that time going through the wilderness, and that's just giving these walls of Babylon time to fall. We want the dust to settle, and as that dust settles, we'll retill that back into the soil, and we're going to grow the greatest nation that's ever been created.
And Farmer Brown, if the people really want to know something, they really, really want to know something, what do they need to do?
If you really want to know something, we're at our finest hour, family. It's Prince in the Mud. Let's make 2022 the greatest year ever. Learn how to grow something.
Happy New Year, y'all. It's January 1st. Let's get to planning. Let's make sure that we have the best spring ever. Let's make this spring, we're going all in, 1 million shovels in the ground, and let's get this so we can all enjoy this grand harvest. But nothing comes for free. Let's put in this work, and that way we can reap this harvest and be able to enjoy it, and no exploitation needed. So let's go on to it's the new year. We're coming into this new year in stride. We're not just starting. Even though this is January 1st, we're coming into this year in stride already. So B1AG Daily Bread Podcast. I'm John Henry Harris. We have Farmer Brown MC. We look forward to you, to bringing you more agricultural news and solutions. Again, we're all about solution based, and we're going to share these solutions and this knowledge with you, just as you share with us, just so we can all grow. That's what it's all about, growth. So until the next show, again, I'm John Henry Harris. We have Farmer Brown MC. See you soon. Peace.